Hello, I'm Charles Bland, and this is the discussion post for Discussion Board 5 in Education 631. Today I'll be talking about the hypothetical starting of a new online course. Advances in technology have led to an overall increase in online learning. We as students within this course are an example of that. The increase of online learning in the past 10 years has shown a dynamic change as far as how learning is presented, in the sense that the educational dynamic has shifted from that of a teacher-centered classroom to more of a student-centered classroom as the classroom itself moves to the online form. Therefore, planning your online courses according to Simonson, Mevalildo, Albright, and Zavik in 2012 states that the online course needs to help foster a learning environment that facilitates student learning. From a biblical perspective, I think that we can look at planning in the sense that as believers who are either currently serving in education or feel a calling to eventually serve within the educational arena, that we need to recognize the importance of planning from a biblical perspective. I think first and foremost we need to remember that our God is a God of order and of creative design, but certainly of specific design. We see this unfold within the creation story found in Genesis. We can also consider St. Luke in chapter 4, verses 28 to 33, where he illustrates a man who's building a tower, or a king who's preparing his army to go out into battle, and recognizes that his army is of less persons and less soldiers than the army that he'll be facing, and the necessity to either plan for that engagement and or to take the steps necessary to engage in peace talks in order to avert any type of conflict. So I think there's three steps that we need to identify when we're planning a new course. Specifically, the first step is to identify and to take into consideration the components of successful learning. 2, identify who your target audience is for your online course. And 3, to determine what technology resources are available for your course. The first step, of course, is understanding the components of successful learning. And once you've determined what the components of successful learning for your specific online course are, you'll need to determine how to implement those specific elements within your online course. The secondary line of thought, when doing this, would be to do the secondary evaluation, which means you want to review topics such as the previously taught courses, how you're going to transform the classroom lesson plan to an online formatted lesson, and also the planning of activities that normally would take place within the classroom that would encourage interactivity, and how you convert those types of activities and or create new activities for the online audience. The step 2 would be to identify who your audience is. Obviously, as Simonson et al. In 2012 articulates, taking time to learn about the learners in the class yields a more productive learning environment. I think we all know that knowing who our audience is and or knowing who our students are help us as educators to present our information in a more clear and formable fashion that ensures comprehension. There are a lot of online tools that are out there that can help educators create a more facilitated online format. But understanding one of the most invaluable tools that out there is Kolb's Learning Styles, which Baldwin and Stutenliff in 2001 illustrate, creates or specifies. Kolb's Learning Styles specify there's no one single mode that most completely describes a person's learning style. From this, we understand that there's going to be many different types of learning styles that are out there. Nonetheless, Avery, Bernstein, and Newman in 2010 show that utilizing Kolb's learning styles can help educators in developing a presentation of information in a manner that is best suited for the environment of a diverse learning styles found in the online forum. Step 3 would be to understand what resources you have available for you, and also what resources are required in order for you to facilitate your online learning course. Once the resources are, essentially the questions asked are what resources are available and how as an instructor can I best present my information to my students. This requires us as educators to move from our traditional learning of a classroom environment, sort of think outside of the box, and move to that online format, understanding that where we used to be able to interact with all different aspects, our now main sensory is going to be visual, and so our information needs to be presented in such a format, as illustrated by Simonson et al. In 2012, who quote, "Because of the nature of distance learning and separation of the instructor from the student, it is essential that the instructor begin to think visually." Kim and Bonk in 2006 also articulate that there are many resources out there that support online instruction and that supports the virtual environmental demands of today's online students. So it's not like you're going to be out there alone. There's a lot of resources that are available for you. And you can utilize all those resources that are out there. Things like FaceTime, utilizing a good facilitating program such as Blackboard, also tapping into the social networks, emails, text messaging, etc. Now, while these 3 points certainly are not the only categories of importance, they lay the foundation of establishing a strong and efficient online program. It's important to note that there are many steps in establishing the online program, and as educators representing our faith, we also need to recognize that our purpose as instructors is twofold. First and foremost, we need to provide our students with growth and learning as prescribed for the subject, but we also need to be responsible for sowing those sweet seeds of wisdom and insight in reference to our faith through our interaction, words, and the dealings with our students. We need to recognize, as illustrated in Corinthians 9:6, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Ultimately, I think as instructors we need to recognize that we're called to be set apart, to provide the greatest instruction possible with a clear reflection of our faith, remembering always the words of St. Paul, that we are not of this world, but that we are to be transformed through the renewal of our mind, Romans 12:2. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you listening, and I wish you all the best of luck.